All I have to do is dream. It's time for my mid-year setup. I have been loving my notebook from bulletjournal.com, and now I'm going back in time with this first official edition from the same brand launched in 2013. The sleeve on it made it clear that it was not the regular long-term notebook, but one that was specifically designed with the bullet journal method in mind. When you open it, it doesn't have the grid spacing guide that the edition 2 conveniently incorporated. It goes straight ahead to the bullet journal key and some space for your name and contact info. A key difference with the second version is that all the instructions, tips and explanations are printed in several of the pages, whereas now all edition 2s come with a separate little handbook that you can carry with you and use as a ruler. I couldn't find the video that I made back when I bought it of me doing the pen test, but here it is with the watercolor palette that I will be using for this setup. The notebook has 3 bookmarks that has not changed, and the paper is a lovely creamy white with 80 GSM, which makes it thinner and a bit less heavy. The usable pages in it are around 240. If you don't count the pages that have print on it, that's a lot more when compared to the 206 in the edition 2, which means there's a lot more space for collections and notes. It's always good to have extra space rather than a lack of it. And so after this brief summary, I'm going to get started. First things first, I always like to add my name, which lately I've been penciling before inking it to avoid any mishaps. This mid-year setup will be inspired in a 50s diner, which is one of my favorite aesthetics from the many decades that I have been revisiting. And so I chose a retro type of font for all headers and decided to keep my palette really simple. I love the sepia from the Copic markers, and you will see me basically use 2 more colors, a pastel cherry red and a light turquoise. The notebook comes with 4 pages for the index, but that's more than what I usually use, so I am going to be adding the year at a glance and the cover with my chosen quote, which I pre-made as I was trying different papers and palettes, and no surprise, craft paper was the chosen one. I drew a jukebox on it and added the quote that I started this video with, "All I have to do is dream." It is the title of a song that was made famous by the Everly Brothers in 1958. Though it expresses the idea that dreaming about a loved one can bring them close, even if they are physically absent, I chose it for my mid-year setup because the same concept applies to our dreams and goals. Dreaming about them, making visual boards about them, and writing down the steps that we must take to reach them are all part of a process that brings our bullet journals and objectives to life. Now I will be setting up the future log. In the original method, this is used to reschedule all the tasks that you had planned to achieve, but later decided you can postpone it for some other week or month. I use it to schedule all of my future events, and since January, I have also been planning my social media content in here. Having a visual of how much I post helps me be more conscious of the fact that I have not been posting that often, and that, for me, is always a work in progress. Since I know that the future log will end up quite filled up, I keep the initial setup quite simple. Each month has 2 columns, and I like to highlight Sundays to separate the weeks. Then all I'm going to do is add some washi tape in the bottom of the page just to give it a little extra detail. You will notice that this notebook for the middle of the year has less collections than the one I set up at the start of it. This is because I always keep that first notebook handy to consult or complete spreads, like my vision board, my daily art log, or the go back page, which I update every year. And so, while this notebook has less collections, I also decided to bring back one that I truly missed. Find out which one it is near the end of the setup. I thoroughly enjoy putting it together, and this time was no exception. It probably is my most favorite spread of this whole setup. For now, I am setting up a space for my finances. This is a much needed spread where I keep control of my income and expenses. This layout has been working for me, with 1 month having plenty space for logging all the money movements, and I also find that having a visual of how much I spend helps me stay grounded to save for more important things. By now you can see how I am using my 2 accent colors to add that extra detail that makes my pages look more alive. These 2 colors from the Zebra Mildliners are 2 of my most used markers. And here's another tool that has always been a great addition to have, stencils. And right here you are going to see me correct a mistake I made. I was supposed to write the number 7 for July, and I have no idea why I traced a 3. With time, I have learned to embrace mistakes. Back when I was starting, I would get really upset if I messed up my numbers, which happened constantly. But after many unavoidable mistakes and discovering endless solutions, I don't get worked up about it anymore. I even appreciate their own patched up aesthetic and see them as a reminder that in life there is a solution for every single error. Furthermore, many of us struggle with bigger issues, so why allow a minor little thing to upset our happy flow? Especially with something that is as personal and private and unique to our personality as a bullet journal. Anyway, after tracing all the numbers, I decided to give them a light wash using my beloved marker technique. This is when I use the ink from a marker as watercolor by activating it with water. To finish off this spread, I traced a cute vintage piggy bank and decided to color it with the same technique. It looked really good, but as I turned the page, I realized that interestingly, this 80 GSM paper can't take this technique without bleeding through like crazy, which is why from then on you will see me use only watercolors, which magically hardly goes through to the other page. I'm really glad that I am realizing this right now because in the previous notebook, my doodles were done using this technique and I intended to keep on using it. But now I know that if I want neater pages, I will have to stick to watercolors, which honestly makes me very happy because this paper takes them beautifully. And now I'm going to do the next collections, which are the waiting for and the wish list. The first one is to keep track of all the deliveries that I am expecting so that I won't miss any and contact the brands if I have to. It might seem like a very simple spread to have, but it's truly handy. I can only imagine how many packages travel around the world every second and many get lost in the process. I even had that happen this week. But having a log of them all allows me to see which ones I am still missing rather than forgetting to ask for a replacement or a refund. The wish list is pretty self-explanatory. Honestly, we are bombarded with publicity every time we open our phones, and they are constantly figuring out our interests to show us things that we would love. If you add the fact that I love watching art videos that feature new techniques and art supplies, there's many things that I would love to try, and so I write them down in here so that I can pick at 8 whenever I have the possibilities to afford something new. Like this watercolor palette that I am showing here. This was my last treat from the amazing brand Daniel Smith. After using student-grade watercolors for years, I decided to try the professional range, and oh, was I sold. The way these watercolors react just when you're mixing them is magical. And of course, once they dry on your painting, you realize that it was worth the price. Like I mentioned before, I will be using 2 colors that I got by mixing a third one into those 2 shades. This right here is buff titanium, and I just fell in love with what it does to the brighter colors. Its creamy shade adds a nice vintage warmth that was exactly what I was looking for. It goes really well with the beige tone of the paper, making everything look as if it really is from the past. For the waiting for side, I decided to draw a 50s girl that is wearing a distinct outfit, complete with a big bow. I will talk about more details of the 1950s in my July video, but it was interesting to read that this was the last decade when women generally wore dresses that covered their knees. The 60s changed all that, especially with the appearance and acceptance of the miniskirt. And for the wish list, I drew a simple retro roller skate. Those had a significant surge in popularity from the 1930s to the 1950s. This period is often referred to as the golden age of roller skating. I thought it fitting for the wish list because I really do wish that I could have a pair again. Maybe someday. And spreads are about to get a lot more fun. You might recall that in my 2025 setup I added a built-in bookmark which facilitates opening your journal on the pages that you want it to. That's what I will be adding in here with a twist. I will start by inking my master to-do list and my to-be list. Let me explain. The to-do list is basically where I write any big projects but also any random ideas for projects that might pop into my mind for further contemplation. The to-be list is a personal inventory of the qualities, characteristics, and states of being that I want to cultivate or embody. It's a way to focus on personal growth and alignment with my values, encouraging me to become the person I aspire to be. I can't remember which journaling YouTuber I saw add this on her journal, but I thought it was a great idea to try. After all, we are a work in progress and there will always be plenty of things to improve about ourselves. Part of this process is learning to avoid time wasters, also known as doom scrolling. That leads nowhere and that has no benefit. On the contrary, many psychologists agree, based on scientifically proven facts, that it is detrimental to mental health. It can lead to increased anxiety, depression, and stress, while also negatively impacting sleep, concentration, and overall well-being. I have been doing some research on the subject, and the word dopamine has a lot to do with this issue. As I paint here, I'm going to try to briefly explain what it is, what it does, and how to gain control back, because what I am doing on these pages as part of my built-in bookmark is a dopamine menu. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, a chemical messenger in the brain that plays a crucial role in various bodily functions, including movement, motivation, and the experience of pleasure. It's often referred to as a feel-good chemical because it's released when we experience something enjoyable, reinforcing that behavior and making us want to repeat it. Doom scrolling disrupts dopamine by creating a cycle of short-term rewards followed by negative emotional consequences, leading to a dysregulation of the brain's reward system. While doom scrolling triggers dopamine release through the novelty of information, it simultaneously reinforces the negative content, contributing to anxiety and other emotional issues. The more one scrolls, the more the brain associates the act of scrolling with these small dopamine hits, reinforcing the behavior even if the content is negative. The solution? Substitute these short-term rewards with processes that you enjoy and that will be rewarding after you invest some time in them. That's where the Dopa menu comes in. Dopa menu is a term coined by Jessica McBee, the host for the YouTube channel How to ADHD. It refers to the idea of creating a curated list of dopamine-boosting activities so that you can become more mindful of your reward-seeking system and choose activities that nourish the mind, body, and soul instead of resorting to constant doom scrolling. As you can see, I'm dividing all activities in a menu-like spread, where appetizers are quick activities that don't suck you in but still provide a burst of dopamine, such as listening to your favorite song, having a snack, or stretching. I am even adding the price for each activity with its charge with the currency of time. That helps me be mindful of how much time I can dedicate to each activity. Entrees are a bit more time-consuming activities that excite you and make you feel alive, like going for a walk, reading a good book, or for me, painting a tiny watercolor. Sides are things you can do simultaneously to make boring tasks more stimulating, like lighting a candle or playing a podcast in the background. Desserts often include activities that are easy to overdo, in part because they are easily accessible and provide a quick hit of dopamine. So these activities should also be done in moderation, like watching a movie or series or truly indulging in your favorite dessert. Finally, the specials include occasional bucket-filling activities that may be less convenient, more expensive, or require planning. Items in this category may include planning a vacation or booking concert tickets. As you can see, this is an enormously rewarding activity that must be done with great care. You should really take your time to come up with the things that you personally enjoy and that will not only give you a reward, the benefits can be lasting and even shared. You don't have to be as detailed with your menu, you can just write it down and make sure you keep it handy for those times when you feel like becoming a couch potato who will spend more time than necessary doom scrolling. For me, adding it to my journal and with the built-in bookmark will keep it very accessible, and just sitting down to decide which activity to make will already be a lot of fun, knowing that anything that I choose will be rewarding. Of course, I had to complete my menu with diner-related paintings, and I really like this waitress that is serving pure joy. In the end, we all seek to do things that make us happy, but we need to choose conscientiously, aware of the consequences of our choices. I gave you a brief summary of what dopamine is and how it affects us, but I really encourage you to do research on your own, because it is when we dive deep into a subject that the information remains in our minds, motivating us to act. So I hope that this new collection of mine will give you the needed inspiration to end with the bad habit of doom scrolling if you have it. If not, then it is also a very good idea to have for when you're just bored. Here I am not cutting the pages, I am simply making an indentation with the back of the blade to make it easier to fold. And this trick is what makes the built-in bookmark work like a charm. These folded pages will not only become the artwork to my lists on the surrounding pages, They will also add the needed volume so that the notebook can basically pop open on its own right here on the Dopa menu, as I will now demonstrate. After closing the notebook as it stands upright, it will magically open where I want it to. You can see how it does work and how handy this is. You can make as many built-in bookmarks as you want in different sections of the journal and add some tabs to differentiate them. I loved adding the art so that they can complete my spreads in my style, but you do you and have fun while you're at it. And on to the last spread of this setup and my most favorite one. You might recall that back in 2021, I turned my routine spread into a whimsical map of doodles that represented all of the activities that I should include in my routine. I not only thoroughly enjoyed putting it together, but it was a daily gentle reminder of how important those activities are to make up for healthier habits. At the beginning of this year, I moved my routine spread to my wellness journal, a separate notebook that has proved to be quite practical, but I really miss looking at my routine activities become creative little artworks, which is the language of my heart. And so this mid-year theme was a perfect excuse to bring them back. My inspiration were those early cartoon characters from the first animations ever made that are both hilarious and truly nostalgic. And so I decided to draw objects that represent each activity and give them funny faces. As I drew them, I could picture them dancing, waving hello, or feeling proud of themselves. I decided to leave them as simple as those early animations with just the ink that I used to trace over the pencil. I really enjoy drawing these little friends, and I'm sure that they will be a sight to enjoy every day as I go through my routine checklist. After inking them, I added a name for each of the activities, using this vintage craft washi tape roll that fits perfectly with the overall vibe. I love using the white jelly roll to write over craft paper. It really makes the words pop out. And so while my routines may seem pretty basic, having these visual aids reminds me of how important each activity is and how vital it is to try to stick to a schedule that can become a healthy lifestyle to keep as steadily and as balanced as possible. Honestly, this has been a work in progress for me, and I have needed a lot of patience and discipline. There have also been a lot of setbacks, but putting forth the effort to get back on track is truly well worth it, and having these fun aids, for me, makes a lovely difference for the better. They keep me motivated and engaged in my process. All of these characters are so cute that I wouldn't want to let them down by overlooking any of them. In the end, of course, I am the one that would be disappointed with myself. So it's all about finding ways to keep the motivation as well as the entertaining part of it all. Again, you don't have to be as overboard with your routines. Do what works for you, make a list, color code it, or add some stickers. The point is to start building better habits with any of the tools that you're comfortable with and enjoy the process. And here is the final flip through of this lovely 50s diner theme for my mid-year setup. I really couldn't be happier with how it turned out, as well as with the simple color palette and that vintage vibe that I was aiming for. I really hope that you enjoyed the setup as well, and that it gave you some inspiration for your notebook. Remember that you can start a bullet journal any time of the year, of the month, or of the week. Just make sure that you are adapting it to your personal style and needs. July is around the corner, and I will be using this brand new notebook to set it up as I talk to you more about the 1950s and its many fun facts and highlights. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments below. You know that I truly appreciate you being here. And so as usual, thank you so much for watching.